Welcome back to the channel. I hope you enjoy.
I could tell something was off about her. I always could, but I didn't know exactly what. I spent the night in the sauna, not by choice, but happenstance. I didn't even start it. I just put my head down on a towel and blacked out. By morning, I was more hungover than man. It was also the only time the sun decided to peek out, if only to ease my retinas. I spent some time getting ready, munching on a couple of protein bars and chugging a bottle of orange juice I nicked from the open bar. Just past lunch, I was the only one on my feet. I didn't spot any other guests from the cluster, and all the cabins were closed. No sign of the strange blonde woman either. Maybe that was for the best. But the more I wandered about, the more I noticed something was off. The ski lift wasn't working, and most of the main lodge was locked. All the lights were off, both inside and out. The restaurant's curtains were drawn, as well as at the bar and the reception. The gym was locked with a closed sign out front. I tried knocking, but no one opened. I tried the main lodge and the other cabins. Nothing. I looked all over the resort, but it was all empty. The parking lot, the maintenance shed, changing rooms, everything was either locked up tight or empty. Something must have happened. One of the side entrances leading to the restaurant kitchen was not just locked, but chained up. Going back to my cabin, I checked my phone, only to remember that I'd let the battery drain. There was no power to charge it. The temperature was also going down, fast. It didn't take long before I had to bundle up with a jacket, even indoors. By the time I realized I'd run out of options, the sun was already setting. I sat on my bed with my legs huddled up against my chest, looking out the window. The snow had stopped glistening as the sun had, once again, wrapped itself with a cloud cover. That's when I realized what had bothered me about the strange woman the other night. There was no vapor coming from her breath, no hot mixing with cold. It was as if she hadn't breathed at all. By nightfall, I could see movement in the distance, doors opening, lights turning on. There was laughter coming from the main lodge, a few remaining fireworks from the other night flaring up into the night sky. Someone had cranked up the music in the bar a little too loud. Heat was coming back, and power was restored. I fumbled for my phone, plugging in the charger. As I did, I spotted one of my neighbors through the window. One of the two older betrothed men. He looked ecstatic, skipping through the snow like a child. He lost his glasses as he haphazardly threw snow into the air, leaving an arc of snowflakes slowly tumbling back to the ground. I walked up to the window, ready to call on him. I wondered where his fiancée was, but I only had to wonder for a moment. His fiancée was dragging the headless corpse of the hipster woman behind him, colorful jacket and all. I crouched down, covering my mouth with my hands. I didn't want a scream to slip out. I could hear my chest pounding in my heart, making me twitch with every beat. I felt my cheeks flush as my tongue went dry. They dragged the body through the snow, their hands and faces covered in red. There was a long trail of blackened blood reaching all the way from the hipster cabin to the middle of the field. The two betrothed kissed, laughed, howled, and cheered. They waved at someone off in the distance, screaming with joy. And there was no vapor from either of them, no hot air mixing with cold. They were cold as ice and just as pale. I saw it all from my bedroom window. Cleaners hanging bloodied linens out the windows like war banners. A woman throwing torn body parts off the roof of the main lodge. A gang of 4 restaurant workers set fire to the maintenance shed, dancing around it like shrieking primates. The receptionist, who talked to me earlier, was wandering in a circle out near the back entrance. She had knives stuck through her arms and throat but was moving around like it was nothing, her back straight and her movements precise. predatory. There was a glow in her eyes, a reflection of the raging arson. The pity I'd once seen in them were long gone. I frantically dialed emergency services. As soon as the call connected, my mind went into a lockdown. I couldn't decide whether to scream or whisper, so I ended up doing this strange wheezing. I had to repeat what I said 3 times to even identify myself. I have no idea what I even stuttered after that, but I managed to give them an address. I think I got the point across. People were dead and things were on fire. There was a knock on the door. My immediate reaction was to toss my phone halfway across the floor. I never hung up, I think. I figured whoever was outside might have heard the noise and came to investigate. "Would you mind letting me in?" The same voice as the other night. The blonde woman who I had opened the door for at the restaurant. This time I didn't move. I didn't answer. "I thought I checked this building," she chuckled. "Where have you been hiding?" There was a whisper. Someone was with her. Then a giggle. "You slept in the sauna? No wonder we didn't see you." I looked for something to defend myself with. There was a fireplace, but it was only a decorative. There wasn't even a fire poker. I grabbed my empty bottle of complimentary champagne. It was heavy enough to cause some damage. But as I looked at that closed door, all the fight ran out of me. There were so many of them out there. I counted 9 in total, surrounding the building. Dark shadows pressing up against the window, none of which were fogging up the glass. Not a single breath. Not one. "It'll be quick." Her voice was muffled, but only barely. It would be so easy for them to break through. It was just glass. And yet, none of them did. "Open the door." Of course, I didn't. I grasped the bottle tighter, hoping against hope for them to just leave. Instead, there was another knock, a slap on the windows. A few familiar faces with an unfamiliar glow in their eyes, looking my way. "I heard you went through a rough breakup," she sighed. "We're a community. There's no loneliness on this side of the door." Something in me snapped. It was one thing to hear someone talking, but now they were talking to me, specifically. Those words were meant for me, no one else. There was no way to trick myself into believing this wasn't happening. A reflex made me throw the bottle against the door, but it was useless. The bottle thumped it and rolled away. They all erupted into laughter. A bloody handprint slapped against the window, then another, then an eager tongue licking it up like a thirsty cat. "All right," she laughed, "then we'll make you come to us." The restaurant workers in the distance stepped up. They were using empty beer bottles from the other night, filled to the brim with a rag on top. Molotovs. I didn't have time to go for my phone, and I couldn't leave. The first place I could think of was the sauna. It was at least heat resistant. It could buy me some time. I hurried into the sauna as the first heat wave pushed the door shut. Bottles were being thrown through the windows, shattering against the bedroom floor. They cheered, singing a scream rendition of London Bridge at the top of their lungs. Blood-curdling falsettos. 6 bottles, one by one, added to an inferno. The smoke was already billowing into the sauna, staining my lungs. There was no option left. I had to get out. I would die if I didn't. I dipped my sauna towel in a bucket of water and wrapped it around my head. I tucked my arms into my jacket, covered my face, and considered my route. The shortest way was the window facing the rear, a sharp turn to the left, and then straight forward. I plotted it, I envisioned it, and as laughter drowned in the crackling flames, I felt my tears grow warm. And I ran. One step outside, and there was already something on me sizzling. Pain on my shoulders like a searing sunburn. I could feel my skin flaking. I stepped down with my right foot, turned, and leaned into a sprint. It wasn't a conscious decision. I wasn't as much running as falling with purpose. As I crouched through the window and air surged out around me, I threw myself into the snow by force of body weight alone. I didn't stop. Stopping meant death. Instead, I kept sprinting forward in a pace that knocked the breath in and out of my lungs like a piston. I threw the towel off my face, feeling the chill night air burn against my exposed shoulders. I was burned, but I couldn't stop to check how badly. Most of them were too busy howling and cheering to even care. Some of them were occupied with suckling on something raw and bloody. Others were too busy enjoying each other's company. Some of them were pointing my direction. One of them fired a gun, but the shot went wild. There was only one that remained focused and calculated. This wasn't a game to her. This was survival. I made my way around the side of the main lodge, following a blood-splattered trail in the snow. The ground was cluttered with miscellaneous furniture thrown from the second-floor window. I could see breathless faces peering out at me, but they didn't seem to care. Maybe they thought I was one of them. Maybe they thought they'd already won. Maybe they had. As I rounded the corner to the parking lot, I saw a familiar face. Ginger. She was perched on the hood of a car in nothing but her underwear, barefoot, with the bloodied remains of Tyler splayed out in front of her. There were no tears in her eyes, just a blank-faced, thousand-yard stare. She was holding up his left leg, licking an open wound clean, as she pressed and prodded the dead veins for blood to squirt. A crazy idea went through my head as I grabbed a handful of snow and stuck it into my mouth. I tried to calm my breathing as I stepped into her vision. Hiding my breath might trick her long enough to gain some distance. There was visible confusion on her face, maybe a hint of recognition. That's the end of part 2.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to one of my videos. I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.